her audio and asking her that question yourself, I can promote you to do so. It doesn't have to be just chat. So if you're comfortable, maybe in parentheses, put voice and video or just voice, and I can promote you to do that. Other than that, I think that's all I have. Miriam, thank you for being here with us today. We're very excited to talk about part one, employer brand strategy. And I will just give it to you. If you have anything to share, just don't forget to share your screen, as it might have canceled out when we transitioned to the practice session. So we'll give Miriam a couple minutes to do so. But thank you everyone for being here today. There will be a feedback form at the end of the session that will be sent to your email. So for us to continue improving this experience for you guys, would be greatly appreciative if you can fill out that feedback survey at the end of the session, which I will address later on today. But Miriam, if you're all set, the floor is yours, and I will communicate with you with any questions that are being sent through the chat.
Sounds good. And Sam, you'll keep me on time for time, so to speak, in terms of me. Okay. If I'm running over anything, just let me know. Good afternoon. My name is Miriam Duchesne. I am the managing partner of Allant Workforce Solutions. We are a recruiting and workforce consulting company. We've been in the Capital Region for well over 20 years. We were formerly known as Lineum Recruiting, and we had a name change and a rebrand a few years ago, and now we're known as Allant. So I just want to thank everybody for having me today. I prefer an interactive discussion, and so obviously through WebEx and through virtual presenting, it's very quiet over here unless my dogs bark or my husband interrupts, which he won't. So if anybody has any questions or if they'd like to interrupt at any point to ask questions, I love it. I welcome it. I prefer it. So, and then it also makes me feel like someone is actually listening to me. So if you guys would have mercy on me and maybe throw me a question or two as I'm going along, I would really appreciate it. So as Sam said, I will be presenting 3 individual sessions that will cover everything from attracting candidates, hiring candidates, and keeping employees within your organization. So today, it's mostly going to be about that first step of actually attracting people to your organization. So as the title slide says, building a killer brand that attracts employment. So we're going to talk today mostly about employer brand strategy. So let me see if I can go to the next thing. And it's not moving for me, so just give me 1 second here. Okay, there we go. So employer brand strategy is similar to marketing campaigns and doing product promotion strategies. So there are a lot of things that are very similar. The difference is that you are trying to build a brand that will attract the best employees to your organization. So employer brand strategy is simply a plan that's going to enable your organization to attract people and keep them within your organization. So you have to think about brand strategy just like you would with marketing your products and services. It's every interaction that someone has with your organization. So it's prospective employees, it's your current employees, it's anyone that might have interest in joining your organization. So every interaction that you have, you want to think through it as a lens like you would from a marketing of your product and service. It's the same thing, except you're going to focus a little bit more on yourself and your company to attract those great employees to your organization. So it's obviously the look and feel of your brand. It's your website. It's your career pages. It's incorporation of your product and services. A lot of times people want to work for great brands and great logos. And so your customers could potentially be employees as well for your organization. So it's incorporating your marketing and your recruitment plan. And it's everything from your SEO, your SEM, AdWords, pay-per-click, all your social media, your email marketing. It's also the interactions that your employees may have with your customers or with one another or with prospective employees. So it's pretty much all encompassing everything that might leave an impression with someone about your organization. So that's really important to understand. It's pretty much every touch point. So when you create an employer brand strategy, you will have a strategic advantage. And when you do it well, people will want to work for your company. So if you're, local region company, obviously, I'm sure you've seen best places to work. You've seen other awards and different accolades that are out there. Those employers are using things like those awards to get recognition for their company and for their brand. So oftentimes employees or prospective employees will follow different companies because they might have a goal or a hope to eventually work there at some point. And so that's what you want to do if you're a newer company, just, putting that framework into place. You want to think about it from day one. A lot of times what happens, or what I see with organizations, if they're in a startup phase and they're moving from their startup phase to maybe their growth phase, they've spent so much time on their product and their service and perhaps the growth of their company, they've not spent enough time on the actual environment that employees work in and the overall culture that might be starting with the company. And so if you're at that point where you're new enough that you can start to incorporate all of those pieces in addition to your product and service offerings, I would highly recommend it, because it's a lot easier to do it all at once than have to go back and fix some stuff that might have been overlooked in the future. So why does everyone need an employer brand strategy? So this term employer brand strategy has been referred to as candidate marketing, recruitment marketing. It's, job posts. It could be all sorts of different things. People have a lot of different definitions for it. But, before COVID, we were telling organizations that the employment market was very, very tight. It was very hard to find the best people. They were all working for other organizations. And there is a skills gap, not just locally, but also nationally. COVID hit. Everybody started coming to our organization completely perplexed. I don't understand why I can't find employees for my company. My company's still hiring. Where are all of the employees that the unemployment market and the news and the media are telling us that are out there? Fortunately, this has been a very unequal pandemic, economy, recession, whatever you want to call it. And most of the skilled workers did not lose their positions. And unfortunately, the people that did lose their positions tend to be in that bucket or that category of more entry level. Perhaps they're in hospitality, food service, restaurants, travel, tourism, whatever it might be. And those skills may not be transferable for an employer for a lot of the jobs that we're seeing that are in companies that are weathering the storm of, our current economy right now. And so it's still not the best of time for employers when it comes to recruiting for our organizations. There's absolutely increased competition for talent. The unemployment numbers are deceiving. And locally, I think I read the other day that we were down under 5% again for the capital region, which is really, pre-pandemic, not as good as it was pre-pandemic. We were hovering right around the 3% mark. But still, under 5% for unemployment is still quite low, which means most people are working. We also do, out of our office on a semi-annual basis, we try to survey the capital region. And so we talk to human resource managers, we talk to hiring managers, we talk to business owners. And 70 out of 72 people that we talked to for our survey that we just completed right before the holidays, the local data tells us that 54% expect hiring to increase over the first 6 months of this year. So companies that might have been laying a little bit low are absolutely going to be ramping up their hiring. And so anything that you can do now to get ahead of that and to try to attract people to your organization, the better off you're going to be. And of those people that told us that they were going to increase their hiring, they also said about 55% of them said that it's still going to be difficult for them to hire. Other reasons why it's important to start building this now is in the age of digital, virtual, everything that we're doing, social media, internet, reviews on Google and Yelp and wherever they might be, people are telling your story. And so you want to make sure you are the one owning and managing your story. And you don't want it to be coming from third party, unhappy past employees, whatever the situation might be. So you want to be the one telling your story. Don't let someone else tell your story on your behalf, because it's going to be wrong. There is still a huge shift in the demographics when it comes to the aging workforce. People are aging out of our workforce, and they're bringing their knowledge and their legacy information with them. And so we still have to be very fierce when it comes to recruiting. And people want to work for a company that's awesome. They want to work for something that's extraordinary. So tell them that you are an extraordinary company to work for. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is to do it yourself. And I assure you, your competitors, other companies in this area and nationally, are addressing employee brand strategy. So you want to be doing it as well. So what you want to do is you first want to create a blueprint.
Miriam, we do have a question on your previous slide.
Awesome.
Brittany was asking, is the 55% of hire professionals reporting difficulty in hiring a COVID-related statistic?
No, it is not a COVID-related statistic. It is a normal doing business statistic. Now, what I will say is that we asked that question at the end of last year. And so I don't know if COVID affected it at all. But what I will tell you about COVID and what we saw with the clients and employers that we're working with locally, they were still having a problem finding employees completely through this entire pandemic. So the numbers from an unemployment standpoint really didn't help most employers find the best skilled workers for their organization. And so I believe that that number is indicative of companies are hiring and HR professionals know and are experiencing finding the right people for their organization right now is still very difficult. So I don't believe it's just a COVID related number. It's just the state of the current state of what we're seeing here in the capital region. Does that answer the question, I hope?
We also have another question, and Brittany said yes. Thank you, Miriam.
Okay, great.
Next question, can you address the special circumstances and approach of hiring a co-founder? It's more of a startup related question.
So is the question how to hire a co-founder or how to engage a co-founder in employer brand strategy? Have any clarity?
Carl, do you want us to put you on audio here? Yep, let's put him on audio. Carl is a familiar face within our community. So I'm going to unmute Carl. Hey, Carl, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great.
The floor is yours.
Hey, Carl.
So the question is really, it's really multiple parts to it. But yeah, I'm currently seeking a co-founder, software developer, kind of full stack person. And, it being an early stage company, a lot of the things you've described in your early, in your slides so far, I'm certainly familiar with those things and I'm totally on board. But as an early stage startup, a lot of those things just aren't there. So, I've done this before, but it's a huge lift. I've done this several times actually, and each time it's a very unique situation. And, I've learned a lot, but I'm trying to figure out what else I can learn to make it maybe a little bit easier or a little bit faster.
That's a great question. And I think as we go through some of the slides, I might answer a little of that for you. But if you're in this situation where you're really early stage, you're either one, going to need to depend on your network of people that you already know, or you may want to, for some, and even for some of these things that I'm talking about, there are outside resources that could potentially assist you, depending upon what your budget was and what type of capital you had to be able to spend. But sometimes actually using a third-party resource to either A, help you with branding, or B, help you with recruiting a co-founder, especially if you have that much on your plate, might be a better way to go. Because a lot of times what I find is at this stage, if you're looking for a co-founder, you generally would rely on your network of people that you already know to perhaps get a referral or re-engage somebody that maybe you haven't, been engaged with for a long time, that knows you through circles, past employment, whatever it might be. So that's a loaded question, to be completely honest with you. It might be even something that again, this is to anyone on the call. I'd be happy to just have brainstorming sessions with anyone for their specific situation, because obviously everybody's situations are different. Everybody's in different stages of their organization. And, but if it were me, just speaking plainly and honestly, the first thing I would be doing is going to my network and having a lot of conversations with a lot of different people to try to uncover perhaps a hidden gem. Or if I don't have the time to be able to do that, hopefully I can engage a third-party resource to help with that. And there are a lot of resources out there at different cost points and at different service levels. So depending upon your budget, you could find an independent person to do branding and marketing and those types of things for you at a fairly reasonable cost if they were an independent type of contractor. Same thing with the recruiting perspective. Not that I'm, going down this path today, but Even a Lot offers a lot of different offerings and solutions at different price points to help people, especially in the startup mode. So that might be an option to do as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Carl.
Okay. So developing. Okay, yeah, definitely. Keep them coming. I much prefer that. So, and these slides will be available to everybody. I've already sent them along to Sam, so I'm sure he'll send them out afterwards. But this just gives you like a checklist of everything that you might want to do. So you obviously want to develop some type of blueprint for your company. So you want to evaluate the current state, where you are in your organization, whatever phase you are in terms of, launching your company, product, and service. Oftentimes what happens is organizations will come to me with this exact challenge that people aren't applying to their jobs. People don't know about their company. It could be a variety of things. And so the first thing that we typically, we actually can do this for them, is we do online research and we do an audit of everything, anything, any touch point, any public perception, anything like that. So you want to be able to do that. And, easy Google searches can do a lot of this for you. But you also want to figure out what your current workforce, if you have one, values the most. What are they going to want and need from an employer? Now, if you don't have a huge existing workforce and you're in the process of wanting to now grow that out, you need to determine, what do you want it to look like? What type of management style is there going to be? What type of culture and environment? Are you going to have, all remote workers? Are you going to have all on-site workers? Are you going to allow a hybrid type of approach? So you're going to need to really figure out what you want it to look like and then build it from there. And, if you are doing anything right now as it relates to, attracting employees to your organization, whether it be through even more casual social media posts or whatever it might be, take a look at that and actually see, am I getting any attention? Is it working at all? Are people even, do people even know about my company and who we are? So, you want to start right from the beginning, as you would with pretty much any strategy for growing something out. So then you also want to determine what your future plan, or what your current plan is, and what your future plan is going to look like in terms of your workforce. So what types of skill sets are you going to need? Who do you need to attract over, maybe it is right away or the next 3 to 5 years? And then figure out how you're going to find them. We work with some tech companies that they have to cultivate these people themselves. They're going to have some basic skills in certain, whether it be languages or technologies, and the company is going to need to cultivate them. Or are you going to recruit from your competitors? Or where are you going to find these people based on your product or service that you're offering to the marketplace? You obviously need to know that first before you can do anything else. And then you need to start thinking about, what are the things that are going to entice them to your organization. So if you have a few employees that work for you, talk to them, ask them why they work there. Oftentimes with smaller organizations, I find some of the biggest things that check off the boxes are autonomy, I'm involved in, developing this product or service, and, I'm in on the ground level. That's always very appealing to employees. The cutting edge technology could be the reason why they're working there, or why you'll attract people to your organization. So it could be a variety of things. It could be compensation. It could be just the mission of your company. There's so many more socially responsible companies that are doing socially responsible missions that, there's a lot of individuals out there in the world that are looking for that type of fulfillment when it comes to their employment. So you want to figure all of those things out. And then obviously you want to establish a very clear employer proposition. So you have to get out there and talk to people and share your story. And some of the things that you can promote would be the environment that you're creating, the employees, the mission, corporate responsibility. Maybe it's pay and benefits, maybe it's not. I will tell you that survey after survey, you can Google it yourself, top 3 reasons people leave jobs or people take jobs has nothing to do with pay and benefits. It's usually in the top 5 because people still want to be paid a competitive rate and have benefits that will take care of them and their families. But it's usually not the top reason why people consider and or take positions. So you want to look at everything within your organization and establish that, and then start shouting it from the rooftop, virtually, so to speak. So
we have another question, Miriam.
Hey, perfect.
Another startup related one. What are the best ways to attract the right talent for my startup if I don't really have a brand yet?
That's a great question. So if you don't have a brand yet, well, do you not have a brand? If you have a startup, there's got to be something there that's already kind of starting to form. And so you may want to be developing the brand as you're developing your startup all at the same time. What I find a lot of times with organizations that are starting up is they rely often on their network, whether it be people that they've worked with before, customers or associates they've done business with before. So oftentimes it usually can evolve from there. But from a no brand at all, I think you might have a little bit of a brand, or you're forming that out, and you can be doing your product and service branding and marketing strategy at the same time you're doing your employment branding and marketing strategy. And oftentimes, if you get down the road of a loyal customer base, those loyal customers could potentially be future employees, or people they know could be future employees. So again, and you guys are giving me really good questions to think about. But from that perspective, what I would say is I'd love to talk with you offline to see exactly where you are. Like if you don't have any website and you don't have any social media presence or anything like that at all, I would at least do something to at least start to establish that. Because if you don't have that, it's almost as bad for prospective employees to not know who you are than to have a bad review. So understanding, at least what your company does, a shell of a website, some social media communication, whatever it might be, it may be important to start that, because without that, it's going to be harder for employees to, one, even be able to do research on your organization. And they're going to need to do that. And most will do that before they even would apply to your organization. Again, shameless plug, recruiters can help you with that. So if you're very early in your startup phase and you need a partner to help basically be your missionary or your evangelist, a recruiter, a good recruiter could help you do that by targeting the people that you want and doing almost, I don't want to say under the radar, but more of a, targeted, proactive campaign to get people interested in your organization. So we've actually done that for companies where they're really in that startup phase, but now they're ready to add talent, have the money to add the talent, and they really need an organization to kind of start blowing the, talking through the blowhorn. The bullhorn in terms of, getting people aware of that organization. So, that would be a couple of things I would think of off the top of my head that might work. So, Sam, is that good? Can I go back to the slides?
Yes, perfect. I'll keep kindly interrupting you if any questions.
Please do it. Please do it.
And don't be shy, everyone. Please put any questions in the chat. This is what we're here for. So thank you, Mary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, obviously you want to establish a clear employer value proposition. You want to have some messaging. You want to have a visual platform that marketing communications can follow, HR communications can follow. You want to have, if you haven't built out a careers section of your website, it's probably something you want to look at doing. A lot of times companies hide their career section, and I guess it depends on what phase of your organization you're in, but I wouldn't do that. I would make it a little bit more front and center in terms of, job offerings, information about the company, benefits, whatever it might be, and make sure it does reflect your value proposition. And you want to, it's better to start this now than have to try to go back and do it later. You want to start evaluating the experience of the touch points from initial awareness all the way through application and actually exit interview. So we've been talking a lot about the attraction of getting people aware of your brand, your company, and interest in your organization, but you cannot forget about the employees that you either are going to hire or that are already with your organization, because those people are just as important for your brand. And so if you have a few, perhaps it's college interns, perhaps it's one or two great developers, whatever it might be, you need to make sure that those employees can be ambassadors to your organization. A lot of times organizations start with referral-based recruiting. And so, Sam knows Joni and Joni knows Joey, and that's how people are originally hired for jobs within smaller organizations. It's a great way to start. I would not recommend that as your only strategy, because it will make your organization less diverse. Is one big thing that I always want to put out there, and you want as much diversity as possible within your organization. But your employees are your best advocates for your company. If you are a company that it's a great place to work, or you're at the point where it's going to be a great place to work, and these employees can bring other employees in to say, you can be part of making this an amazing place to work with a great product or service. So obviously you want to talk the talk and walk the walk. Don't say one thing and do something else. Employees will not like that. They will see right through it, and they'll call you out on it on, various platforms very, very quickly. So you want to make sure that your organization does have a way to give an employee solid compensation, but also aligns with their beliefs and their values, and you provide a meaningful experience within the organization. And all of this stuff comes over time. I realize a lot of you are in the startup mode, but these are things you should be thinking about now, even if you can't implement all of them now, because if you ever want to get to the point where you're growing into a successful, larger organization, you're going to need all of these pieces in place in this foundation there for when you're ready to get to the next level. So if you can showcase your company culture, your values, and your business accolades, biggest thing is showcasing your employees and encouraging your employees to be engaged on social media, promoting your organization, your products, your services, whatever it might be. If you get to the point where you can share what the career path might be within your organization on your careers page, pictures say way more. People love looking at pictures. People love looking at short videos. Our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter as the day goes on. So when I, recommend any type of video or educational information that you're going to want to do from a video perspective, try to make them short and sweet and nice little sound bites and little pops of color and those types of things to get people's attention. Obviously develop team spirit, but those are the things you're going to want to showcase, whether it's through your website, through any social media channels you choose, and then obviously through your employees being able to go home at the end of the day and tell their story to their friends and their family about what a great place they're working at and or building to work at. So, you hear a lot of times employee referrals, companies will pay employees for referrals, but I I challenge everyone to get employee referrals without having to pay your employees to do that. That's going to say a lot about your organization. And then what you're also going to want to do is when you really get in the throes of hiring is, yes, you need employees, you need a workforce to get things done. But don't forget, once you bring someone onto your organization, you should be asking them what attracted them to come to your company, especially if you're in startup mode and there's a lot of perhaps risks to joining any startup organization. How did they find your company? If someone's leaving, you should be doing exit interviews to find out why. Where can you make improvements? So this stuff is just almost like a constant circle of things that you need to be doing to promote a great employee experience that will then translate into an amazing employer brand. So here's some other things that you can keep in mind from, building and keeping a pipeline. A lot of times when organizations are recruiting for positions for their company, it's what I call post and pray. So a company will put a posting up on a job board, a website, whatever it might be, and they hope people will see it and they hope people will apply. And that's a great first step, but I would tell you that it's probably the most costly from a time and money perspective. And so if you can start to develop a following of customers, past applicants, and current employees that can kind of help build your pipeline for you, you'll be in a better position. So again, it's taking all of the pieces of technology, whatever's going to work for your organization, from a social media platform, website, messaging, marketing, whatever it might be, and making sure you're using the right ones that'll get to the right people within that you want to hit for your organization. And so you want to figure out what's my most important thing. Maybe it is branding. Maybe you're not even to the point of recruiting or attracting it. It's just branding. And so when you're doing your branding for your product or service, don't forget about the employment aspect of it, because if you're doing it now and incorporating all of that, the other things will be a little bit easier to accomplish down the road. Obviously, recruiting, name recognition, what other things do you want to get out of whatever campaign that is that you're doing? As we already talked about, you want to show off your company. It's the best way to do it. Pictures, videos, testimonials from your employee, maybe videos of your employees. I know some people can be very camera shy. I have the same thing in my organization, but it's having, a recruiter on my team talk about why they work for Allant and why they love their job and they love their clients. I think it says a lot about an organization. So, incentivizing employees to do that is great. Obviously, you want to talk about the history of the company, the founders, the growth, the environment, the work that you're doing, why it's so important, what's it going to bring to make our world a better place if that's the case, whatever it might be. And then constant feed of, whether it's newsworthy events, it could be, things that the company or the employees are doing in the community. It could be awards that they're winning. It could be grants that they're getting. It could be a variety of different things. It could even be new customers that they're landing. Sometimes the best way to attract employees and show that you are on a path or a trajectory that's going to show success, growth, and stability in the long run is showing the customers that you have and the work that you're doing with them. And even if you don't do it publicly, for whatever reason, I know even for my business, sometimes sharing customer information is a bit uncomfortable, or I can't for whatever reason because of contracts and agreements. Internally, there are still ways to at least promote it or even share with applicants that apply and you're meeting with them in person. And again, I already talked about, picture and a video type of things. This is a big one, and it's a good way to start as well. So as I mentioned earlier, doing audits of what your presence looks like publicly. Oftentimes companies that I'm working with, they hire me to do recruiting. We always do an audit on their public presence, even if they don't ask for it, because we want to know, what are we getting into? Is this going to be a hard company to recruit for because there's just terrible press out there? The reviews are awful. And there's just so many things that are going to make it really challenging to recruit for this organization. So you should be doing this on a regular basis. And it's both from your product and service perspective as it would be from the employee perspective. So again, I feel like employment brand strategy or employer brand strategy is just one more element of a marketing campaign that just goes a little bit further. So you're doing a lot of this stuff, and it's the same principles that you would be doing for your product or service. You're just extending it to also encompass prospective employees, attraction to your company, those types of things. And so for reviews and reputation, you should have someone monitoring it. We have someone on our team that monitors ours on a daily basis. We respond to both positive and negative items. You want to respond to negative items, but you want to do it in a very good way. Don't want to take the defense. You don't want to be attacking back, so to speak. I have someone that I work with that actually helps me craft messages that are going to address whatever the situation is, but then also in a way present it in such a light that you can turn a negative into a positive. So I highly recommend that you have someone on your team, or you, again, engage from the outside, someone that can help you respond to those things and make it sound really good. Obviously, positive reviews, same thing. I got a positive review today, and I'm going to respond to it, but I also want to be careful in my words to make sure that I can use every opportunity I possibly can to not only acknowledge someone that's taking the time to put a review out there, but also use it as an opportunity to continuously bolster and promote my company and the people on my team. So you want to think of it from that perspective. Engage in dialogue. And then obviously, when you are developing a following and you're developing it through whether it be social media or the like, it takes a long time. I mean, we've been at this for years. We were getting, several thousand followers on many of our platforms, and then we had to change our name. And my poor marketing communications person, I thought I was going to have to get her a brown paper bag to breathe into, because she had worked so hard to establish us as a company in the area. And then when I said, yeah, guess what, we're changing our name, she had to do it all over again. But it can quadruple very quickly. So it starts off slow, and then it gains momentum, and then it can grow and grow and grow and grow. And it's a lot of work. This is not an easy thing to do. It's not something where you can just do it once and hope it's going to last forever. It takes someone to massage it and mentor it and watch it and cultivate it, just like farming. I know it sounds like a silly comparison, but it's like farming. You have to plant the seeds, you have to water it, you have to trim it back when it's getting too big, and you have to basically help it flourish every step of the way. So another way that you can actually build a talent community and build a following is actually with job applicants, past job applicants. So if you're starting off slowly, or if you have a situation where you have filled positions and you have applicants, one of the best ways to establish just some loyalty and some good PR is how you treat all of the applicants that interact with your organization and what their process was like. And so if there is a way for you to provide feedback to candidates that apply for jobs, if they go through the interview process and they're not selected, try to tell them why they're not selected. Try to give some feedback. Thank them for an interest in your organization. If you're reviewing resumes and they don't get to the applicant stage, what you can do is develop some messaging where you can encourage them to stay engaged with your organization, look for future jobs, reapply in the future, try to regularly engage with them. A lot of organizations that are fairly large have established a variety of ways to do this, and an over-encompassing description of that is talent communities. And so when you're working with talent communities are people that have expressed interest in your organization. Perhaps they're following you on social media platforms. They might be engaging with you. They could even be, past customers, current customers, or people who know those customers. And so any way that you can start to establish a following, I look at everybody in the capital region as a potential job candidate or client for my business. And so what I try to do is engage with them, try to make sure that, if they message something on a social media platform, we respond to it. It's not easy. It's a full-time job, and we're not a huge company. I have 10 employees. We, do several million in a year in revenue, but we're not Google. We're not, a national or international staffing company that's, reporting their quarterly figures every quarter in the billions. But there are still things, even on our scale, we have a full-time person that absolutely manages and monitors this day in and day out. And I find a lot of times with startups, people are doing 2, 3, 4 different types of jobs for the organization just to get it off the ground. And that's great. And I totally understand it. But if you can get to the point where you have maybe 1 or 2 people that are responsible for pieces of this, it's going to make it a lot more seamless as it grows and as you basically build your organization out. I also tell people, if you have an applicant that's applied to your organization, and they look good, but maybe they don't have enough experience yet. Maybe they're an eager college grad that, it's almost there, but not there. Those are the ones you really want to try to engage with and keep interested in your organization. And so there's a lot of online forums and platforms and things where you could actually establish for your organization and invite them to share ideas, or, a lot of companies are doing these, basically trying to get people for free to help them beta test things and do stuff related to software development, gaming, those types of things. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. The biggest thing is don't try to do everything at once, and don't try to boil the ocean. Figure out what might work best for you, start on a small scale, and then try to build it up from there.
Hey, Miriam?
Yes.
Question. Do you have any recommended job posting websites for the people here to maybe look into and start any free trials that also might include some of those efficiencies to keep in touch with the past applicants and have those types of features that you were just talking about? Do you know of any?
So I can get you so from job boards themselves. So when you think of job boards, the ones that come to mind are Indeed, Monster, Career Builder. LinkedIn is actually a job board too. I know it's considered more of a professional social media platform, and it absolutely is that, but it's also turning into a job board too. So those don't usually allow you to have the talent community side of it, or the interaction, or the engagement, or the message boards, those types of things. But many applicant tracking softwares have those capabilities and have built out those capabilities as modules. So it would be different applicant tracking softwares that you would want to look at more than job boards for something like that. And I could certainly make some recommendations off the top of my head. I can't think of anything that I would tell you to use. And especially if you're looking for ones that are, applicant tracking software light, so that they can be more affordable for startups. But if you allow me to do just a little bit of research, I can definitely send over some resources that people could take a look at. But in my experience, it's not the job board side, it's the applicant tracking system side that actually would be your best bet in terms of trying to build out. And there are companies that actually have those modules built into their ATS systems.
Perfect, thank you. I just put in the chat for everyone the difference between job boards and applicant tracking softwares. If anyone wants to do their self-research, those are the 2 terms that Miriam just used. So thank you, Miriam.
Absolutely. And this is actually my last slide. So the biggest thing that I want people to take away from as they start to build out some type of brand strategy related to attraction of employees is you want to establish and have meaningful differentiation. And that's really important. And that I find differentiation, if you are in a sea of organizations that are doing a similar thing, then you can be one of the hardest things to try to figure out. Sometimes I still feel like even for my business, I haven't really achieved that maximum meaningful differentiation when it comes to my clients, because, when they look at me, they look at, all recruiting companies are alike, and we're really not. So I have to go through this laundry list of the reasons why we're so different. But unfortunately, the things that you can say that you're different, other companies might be saying that's the reason why they're different. And so you want to try to create meaningful differentiation. You will reduce your recruiting costs. The stronger you are on the employer brand at the beginning of the, your life in your company, the better you will be as you continue to grow and get more name recognition and start to have some great positive publicity, PR, reputation, whatever it might be. It will absolutely reduce your recruitment costs. It will increase the quality of job applicants. And this is absolutely a fact. Organizations with positive employer brands are getting nearly twice as many applicants as those that don't. And I think what's really important is this isn't, I've focused maybe a little bit more on the traction piece, but this includes your current employees. And so part of this is establishing employee pride, a sense of responsibility, an employee ambassador for your organization. And if you can have your employees be ambassadors and get the word out and, spread the love, so to speak, that's also going to help with employee attraction. And, it should create and cultivate a stronger organizational culture. You will have higher performing, more satisfied employees, and you will have a stronger sense of organizational purpose. So with that, I'm going to say thank you for allowing me this time today. I really appreciate the invitation to be able to speak on this subject. It's a really big subject. So to keep it into the time frame, like I could literally on each of those slides probably spend an hour with someone kind of digging in and going through that with people. So again, one of the things that we do offer, and I really love doing, is talking to businesses, talking to new businesses, and there's no strings attached. We do not need to do business together. If I can help in any way, sometimes it's just like, hey, did you know you could get this for free? Or did you know that this might be something you might want to look into or doing? I'm happy to share as much knowledge as I can so that I can make this process for you as easy as possible and cost effective as possible. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Connect with me on LinkedIn. If you connect with me on LinkedIn, and it's not listed here, but it's just my name. I have a very unique name. So if you just type in my name, you should be able to find me fairly quickly on LinkedIn. But if you link with me on LinkedIn and I don't know you, I am going to request at least a 15-minute Zoom meeting so that I can put a face with the name and be able to just know who. I prefer to link with people I know. So even if that just means it's a 15-minute conversation with me, I promise it won't be painful. I'll make it as easy as possible on you. So Sam, I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Miriam. We have a few minutes, so anyone who has any last-minute questions, please put them in the chat. I do have one here for you, Miriam, from Brittany. It was noted that recruitment within established networks will likely lack diversity. Is it possible that a brand strategy following attract a similar pool of candidates? What is the best way to cast a wide network for recruitment? What is the best way to cast a wide network for recruitment?
Brittany, you are absolutely right. You have to be careful with that. And that is a whole topic for discussion. So yes, if your employees are referring people from their networks, it's possible that they could have a less diverse network to pull employees from. However, there are other things that you could do to show that you are an inclusive employer that embraces diversity. And that could be through work with community organizations, volunteer work. I would not just rely on your employee network or your employee referral network for all of your employees. I would dig a little bit deeper. I would go a little bit further. And if you have an employee that's working for your organization, or if you have employees that are working for your organization and you want to tap into their network, there's nothing wrong in saying to them, we want to fill this position with the best talent, but we're really hoping to continue to expand the diversity among our ranks and in our demographics of our employee population. We want our employee population to mirror our customers or people that we're providing services to. Do you have anybody else within your network that might have more of a diverse background that might be interested in talking with us? You need to be intentional, because if you ask employees just for referrals, they're going to, 9 times out of 10, they're going to refer people that, may not have as much diversity as you want. Be intentional with that. Make sure you're saying, we want diversity within our organization. And that's not the only way you'll get it, but that's one way that you can do it. I would also challenge anyone on the call to go into LinkedIn and start looking up people, start looking up candidates, and dig in for people that will have diverse backgrounds. and get engaged in colleges, get engaged. So a lot of times people will just go to the career center to engage with a college. And I recommend that, the career centers are great and they're very helpful, but you want to do more than that. You want to get in front of professors or heads of departments in in colleges where you're going to need those skill sets. Those are the types of people that you're going to want to engage a little bit more and do a little bit of extra work getting in front of and asking for talent that way. So be intentional, try to find where people are that you need with the skill set that you need, but also understand that you may have to be very proactive to recruit the most diverse candidates to your organization. There's no magic bullet. I've been trying to find it for years. And as I continue to dig and I try to uncover places where I can promote diversity and inclusion, I find that the best way to do it is through the relationships that I've developed. And I did my own soul searching and looked at my own business network and realized that I even needed to expand my network. So I've been very intentional and, seeking out people to network with and bring into my network that are going to bring more diverse ideas, cultures, and backgrounds that hopefully I can enlist in the future to help in some way, shape, or form.
Thank you, Miriam. Another question, Joseph. This is a specified position question. You are clearly happy with your full-time person who cultivates your brand, which is fantastic. Do you have any tips on where or how we might find one as well for our company?
That's a great question. There is a lot of so depending upon where you are within your organization, if you are not using the services of college interns or people that have an interest in that type of work, I would highly recommend it. There's a lot of great college programs around here. I've started a lot of people on my team as interns where they only worked a couple of days a week or they did one specific thing for me. So I highly recommend looking at college interns for that. That's a great way to start, and they tend to be a little bit cheaper and very, very enthusiastic because they're looking for experience. Depending upon how you position if you do a job posting, if you position your job posting a certain way to make sure you're looking for the right person, you can probably get someone who's entry level out of high school or college, depends on the situation. So those would be the first places I would look. I would first look at interns, because you could go to any of the colleges in this region, even if you started in career services and said, I'm looking for marketing interns, or I'm looking for people. I mean, the specialties are really breaking out. I mean, 10 years ago, we weren't looking for social media strategist type people for our organizations. And now that's almost becoming commonplace for many, many companies. So what I would say is go to various colleges that might have marketing or technology or digital marketing type programs and tell the career services or the professors that you might engage with exactly what you're looking for. And then from there, you should be able to hopefully find a whole school of or a whole host of eager, enthusiastic candidates that want to put experience on their resume. One thing I will say, though, is if you go that route, while it might be in dollars and cents, maybe affordable, time-wise, you may need to have a little bit higher of an investment just so that person can understand your business, understand what it is that they're trying to accomplish, because remember, they're still learning too. So if you're willing to put in that investment and that little bit of extra training, you could find an amazing person that way. So I would recommend that would be the first place I would go if I were trying to grow my team.
Thank you, Miriam. We got some quick feedback already. Thank you for today. Great information. Joseph just said wonderful. Thank you. And that, unless anyone sends any last minute questions here, that will conclude part 1. As I mentioned before, you will get an email at around 4:45 asking you to fill out a quick survey about your experience here today. We'd greatly appreciate that so we can continue improving our webinars for you guys. In addition, there will be a link in that email to sign up and register for part 2. You can also sign up and register for part 2 if you're following us on social media. you are subscribed to our newsletters. So part 2, I believe, is candidate experience, right, Miriam? So we'll be getting a little bit more in depth about that.
Yes. Yes. So thank you for asking, Sam. So 2 things. One, if there's a way for people to provide feedback on specific things that they are very interested in learning about, I can try to weave that in. So, these are working documents that I use. I mean, I put this one together just last week. Literally, it was all sorts of stuff I've had from different places. So if there's specific things someone wants to really dig in on, please share that. And so I can build that into the presentation for next week. Next week is candidate experience. So that's everything from the life cycle of someone applying and going through the process of interviewing up to the offer. So that's what we're going to cover next week is true candidate experience, a little bit of tips on applications and the process and interviews and those pieces. That's what we're going to cover next week.
Perfect. So you can register for that as soon as you get that email, or it's already in the link in the Eventbrite for part 1. You can see that. Follow Ignite U on social media, connect with Miriam on LinkedIn, and also follow Alliance on social media as well. They have a great social media representative that we've been interacting to promote this event. And also, any business owners or founders out there who are MWBE eligible or are a veteran-owned business, you can apply for our 2021 Accelerated program. That's also on our website, also on our social media pages. And with that being said, thank you so much, Miriam. And we will see everyone next week, Tuesday, same day, same time, 3:30. And if you guys have any questions or feedback, you can reach out to myself or Miriam. Everyone have a good week. And thank you so much, Miriam. See you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.